I know they all want me to wear glasses, but goddamn, it takes away from my sexy. I always late, my cholesterol is always high, you know? Mike, hurry your ass up. Just gotta.
Bad Boys for Life is a new movie directed by Adil. I'm just gonna say their first names because I don't know. I'm not good with names. Adil and Ada. Yes. And this film stars the return of Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. And the shocking thing about this, Martin Lawrence came out of retirement to do this role. And I'm just like, okay, I'm a little concerned. So Bad Boys for Life is all about Mike and Marcus gotta come out of retirement because someone is ordered a hit on people who are closest to Mike. So Mike and Marcus go out for one last ride and they have a new team of millennials, and we have our movie Bad Boys for Life. I had to tell you that this has a new direction. Michael Bay was the director of the first two Bad Boys movies. And for me personally, I'm not much of a fan of the Bad Boys movies. Like, I watched the first one and I watched the second one, but I'm not much of a fan because I'm not much a fan of Michael Bay. But I do like the chemistry between Martin Lawrence and Will Smith. Outside of those two, the movies themselves are not really that good in a way. I'm gonna have to say the good things about this movie is, first thing first, I love that Martin Lawrence is returning from retirement, but I had a little concerns going into this movie. How will he pull it off? Will he still have the chops? Is he just there for a paycheck? But Martin Lawrence definitely delivered. He returned into form. Like, he never missed a beat. He was on point with Will Smith on the chemistry level. The chemistry was definitely high. He was funny. So he gave out an emotional performance where I was taken aback from. I was actually emotional. He actually performed it himself. Will Smith definitely delivered. He definitely had that charismatic charm. He always delivered. And for movies, Will Smith always delivers in most of his movies. But for this one, I feel like this one's a little different. This one, there was a little bit of more of a personal connection level between character and role. And I felt like this was a performance that Will Smith was invested in, because there was a lot of emotional scenes that we didn't really see with his character ever before. Like, they really broken down his character on an emotional level. Well, we understood the person of Mike Lowry in the first two movies, of the first two Bad Boys movies, but in this movie we get the man behind the silky suit. We get who he is, his vulnerability, what gets him ticks, what gets on his nerves. We get a personal connection with Mike Lowry, and also this character faces trials and tribulations, stuff that we haven't seen before in the first two movies. Like, they really broken down his character to the emotional level that I have to compare to BBS. That I was taken aback from. They did a really good job of the chemistry between them. They have broken down their chemistry to a newer level, to a newer height. So therefore, these two guys are butting heads in some levels, and you get an understanding of why these characters are butting heads, because they have different ideologies, like BBS. Now, the things I also want to talk about was the action sequences. The action sequences was definitely good in this movie, but let me explain this further. The action sequences was really good, but there was a technical issue that I have to point out, like a technical point that kind of irks me a little bit, that I kind of want to explain in this portion of the video, but I'll get to that later. But still, I enjoyed the action sequences in this movie, but some would not like it. Some might think that it doesn't really have that much energy or much thrill if you compare it to the first two movies. I felt like there wasn't a lot of editing choices. I didn't feel like my eyes were getting irritated for so many cuts and edits, as the color was actually corrected. It wasn't oversaturated at times. Like, if you watch the second Michael Bay movie, the color was just right. My eyes didn't feel like it was getting like drowned with color. Also, another thing I gotta give highlight to was the villain. usually the last two Bad Boys movies doesn't have memorable villains. I mean, who was the bad guy in the last movie? And Bad Boys 2. I am Spanza, and I will sever your head. Like, the villains are not really memorable. But Bad Boys for Life has a memorable villain, and also the villain has a personal connection with one of the main characters, Mike Lowry. And I bought it, and it worked. And it just was like a huge direction that I haven't seen before, and I was in it. The story made sense. The story was cohesive. It has like some pacing issues. There's some times where they kind of slow it down a little bit, but still I didn't find myself bored. And the things in this, so yes, I was in the ride. Yes, Bad Boys for Life. Yeah. As for the bad in this movie, there's not a lot of bad things I had to go with, but I had to say that there are some moments on action sequences you'll notice the CGI. There is a CGI moment where Will Smith is on top of a building. There are some action sequences where you kind of notice the CGI for Martin Lawrence's characters and Mike Lowry's character. It's only because they're older in age, and some of the act stunts they just can't do anymore because they're older, they're in their 50s. Now, the action sequences I talked about earlier, that the action sequences is not as good just on a high octane, like energy, that thrill, like, oh my god, this is happening. Like the highway chase scene in Bad Boys 2. That was thrilling. There wasn't an action sequence in this movie that was on that level. It wasn't on that level of excitement. But in a good portion of my video, I did say I did enjoy the action sequences that they gave me, only because there wasn't a lot of weird editing choices. But for Michael Bay, when he delivers his high octane action sequences, he has weird editing choices, and we've seen it a lot of times in his Transformers movies, and also we've seen it a lot of times in Bad Boys 2. So it's just a love-hate relationship I kind of have with it. It's like the directors had like the visage of Michael Bay's directing style. Outside of this movie was entertaining. This movie had some character development, also some character progression, and also they had character deconstruction I wasn't expecting. They broke these characters down on an emotional level. They took Mike Lowry down into the dirt, and he had to rise up and become the... Okay, I just used another BVS reference. Oh man, I'm on a roll. 3 BVS references and 1 review. I'm really tough. I mean, it's really tough. Doesn't really have much flaws, so I guess I have to give it a Christian Bale Batman. Oh, okay. It's a surprise. It's a surpriser. Okay, this is a good movie. Definitely check it out. This is definitely safe. January, you will have a good time. I guarantee it. Go see this movie. So that is the week and the weekend. I still have a lot of videos planned for you guys. I still had to give you guys the top 10 best films of the decade. I also have a couple of skits that I'm working on currently, so I can't wait to dish those out to you. So stay tuned for all those reviews and also those skits that's heading out to you. So thank you guys, you are the best, and I'll see you guys in the next review. And if you like everything you see and you agree, subscribe to my channel and join me in the Batman family, and I'll see you next week. Till then, ciao.
Going nowhere.